Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Remotely News, the new show that I just made up and that may or may not feature news you can use. I'm your host, Greg Demink, and in our very first story, perverted koalas to receive STD vaccine? In some parts of Australia, as much as 90% of the koala population has contracted a version of chlamydia similar to the STD found in humans. The disease can cause blindness, swollen bladders, and other urinary problems, and threatens, in combination with things like deforestation, fires, and drought, to drive the koalas to extinction. In humans, the disease can be cured with a simple course of antibiotics, but this wasn't working in koalas. In fact, that treatment has been killing them. After years of development, a vaccine is being tested this month that might save the cuddly critters' lives. But are we meddling with God's plan? Is this not simply divine judgment for the marsupial's sinful ways? Well, not so much. Like humans, koalas can in fact contract the disease through sex, but they're far more likely to get it through their habit of eating poop, which admittedly is probably how some humans contract chlamydia, but unlike those scatterbrain humans, it's not a sex thing. Koalas eat eucalyptus leaves, which are toxic, and the only way they can survive is because of a symbiotic relationship they have with the bacteria that live in their guts. These bacteria help with the digestion of the leaves, including the breaking down of any toxins present. Koala joeys, and yes, they are called joeys as well, eat their mom's poop to acquire the beneficial bacteria as they are weaned off of her milk. It seems gross, but it makes kind of a little bit of sense, I suppose, and apparently we've even started embracing the concept in modern medicine. This reliance on gut bacteria is also why feeding koalas antibiotics didn't work. It killed the good bacteria along with the chlamydia and led to the koalas being poisoned or simply starving to death. The vaccine, it is hoped, will overcome this hurdle by teaching the koala's immune system to attack chlamydia while leaving the other bacteria alone. Along with saving the koala, this trial has the potential to provide valuable data on human chlamydia, furthering the development of our own vaccine, which is still in its trial phase. And maybe we'll forestall a future koala-related STD pandemic that spreads through some sort of alternative wet market, if you will. The world's largest Triceratops skeleton, known as Big John, was sold for 6.6 million euros on Thursday to a private collector at a Paris auction house. The remarkably complete skeleton clocks in at 7.15 meters long and stands around 2.7 meters high at the hips. The skull represents more than 1/3 of its total length, with two large horns each over 1.1 meters long. Big John is estimated to be over 66 million years old and was found in 2014 in South Dakota. The sale of fossils in this way is nothing new, and while the auction of Big John achieved a surprisingly high price, the record for a fossil was set last year when a full T-Rex skeleton was sold for $31.8 million. That sale left scientists dismayed, as they are often unable to compete with these prices, and fossils entering private collections are often lost to researchers. Big John seems to have evoked similar sentiments. In response, the person who discovered and excavated the extraordinary fossil said in a statement on Facebook that while the sale to a private collector is not ideal, he did attempt to contact scientists and museums and offer to sell the fossil at a far reduced price. He claims that he was rebuffed or received no reply. But just who bought Big John? Well, that's something of a mystery. The buyer has asked to remain anonymous, but their representative, who used to be a vice president for Disney's Animal Kingdom, had this to say.
It's being acquired by an American collector, and that individual is absolutely thrilled with the idea of being able to bring a piece like this to his personal use.
Personal use. Like what, a coat rack? Do you climb on it like a jungle gym? I suppose you could grind it up and snort it. They could do whatever they want. Personal use. I'm not even mad. I'm a little bit jealous. I could imagine that I would totally do this if I were a billionaire. You could get a whole collection going, buy all the skeletons, and just put them on wheels and have your butlers drive them around and just bang out the theme song for Jurassic Park. Dare to dream, kids. Dare to dream. I would really, really love to know who the mystery buyer is. Let me know your guesses in the comments below. As part of an anniversary celebration for the foundation of the Korean Socialist Workers' Party, Pyongyang played host to an unprecedented expo featuring everything North Korea has to offer the international arms trade. As the country is under extreme sanctions, attendance was limited largely to Kim Jong-un and his badge-collecting generals. So this was less of an opportunity to make sales and more of a petty attempt to upstage South Korea's own arms expo being hosted a little over a week later. And upstage it they really, really did. While everything from small arms to intercontinental ballistic missiles was on display, it was the soldiers of the Korean People's Army that stole the show. In a now viral video that was likely meant to showcase the extreme might and toughness of the average North Korean soldier, the event quickly devolved into a farcical display of street magic that included perennial crowd favorites like acrobatics, the bed of nails trick, and breaking cinder blocks with hands and heads. Throughout the display, Kim Jong-un showed his appreciation, smiling and clapping along, though this soldier getting the utter crap beaten out of him with 2x4s failed to impress. My personal favorite moments were the sledgehammer arm trick, and this guy slapping knives out of the air with a backpack. Events on the Trouble Peninsula took a far more serious turn later in the week, with North Korea testing what is suspected to be a submarine-launched ICBM, which, if true, gives the totalitarian regime truly terrifying nuclear capabilities. Which begs the question, in a nuclear war, what is this knife dodger training for?
Who needs a knife in a nuke fight anyway? All you gotta do is push a button.
Stand on that wall, trooper. Put your hand on that wall! The enemy cannot push a button if you disable his hand.
A 7-foot statue of Harambe was placed in front of the charging bull in New York City, and 10,000 bananas were placed around the bull's feet. But this wasn't part of a long overdue celebration of the martyred great ape. Instead, it appears to be part of a guerrilla marketing campaign by a still in development social media platform called Sapien.network. This network seems to be calling for a more inclusive society and promises to help facilitate this utopia somehow. Details are a bit thin on the ground, even after I joined the tribe, and I'm still waiting for my confirmation email. They did allegedly donate the bananas to the homeless though. Anyway, I was super excited about the giant Harambe statue, so I headed into the city, but less than a day after it was put up, it was gone. Undaunted, this reporter decided to scout around to see if he could find it, but while the fearless girl statue was still in place, sadly there was no Harambe. But in line with all the monkey business, I did meet this guy with a hot stock tip for all you apes out there. Standing outside the New York Stock Exchange, where all good business is done, he told me to short BlackRock, KPMG, and Blackstone because he believes they helped the New York Historical Society steal from him and defraud the federal government. He alleges that the money they deducted for payroll taxes from his salary was never paid over to the feds. When asked about the time frame for this investment advice, he simply said soon. On Googling his name, because I do my research, I discovered that he filed a lawsuit against the Historical Society in 2019 alleging age discrimination. He was fired from his administrative assistant position in 2013.
Why would I take a short position? What's going to happen? I don't understand.
Because they'll get in trouble for engaging in tax evasion. And because they'll be in trouble for engaging in tax evasion, because you took a short position on their stock, when the stock goes down, you make money.
Okay.
And then you invest in their competitors, and their stock will go up. Because obviously they'll lose business because they got in trouble for doing all this.
And when's the investigation happening and all of that?
Well, it doesn't have to be investigation. You can just, all you need to do is, I mean, obviously I wouldn't be out here if it weren't true.
Okay.
I can show you my paycheck stuff.
I don't need that. I'm just curious. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I wouldn't be out here if it weren't true.
Do with this information what you will, but I must say that this is not investment advice. Harambe reappeared about 10 days later outside the headquarters of Facebook. And now sports. Over the course of the pandemic, a trio of Spanish siblings, with a little help from viral videos on TikTok, turned a beloved childhood game into a formalized, legitimate professional sport, which this month held its inaugural World Cup event, prompting millions of people to grab their hair and go, shit, why didn't I think of that? The rules are simple. In an obstacle-filled arena simulating a living room, though also featuring a car for some reason, the balloon must always be struck upwards, and a point is won if it hits the floor. Like with squash, competitors must not impede their rivals' movements. Matches last between 2 and 5 minutes, and the player leading when the clock stops wins. A referee is on hand to determine the point scoring and if fouls take place, and close calls are even referred to a video-assisted referee. 32 teams of competitive ballooners were invited to showcase and push their skills to the limit in a battle to be crowned world champions at the first ever event in Spain. Online figures showed nearly 600,000 concurrent viewers as the tournament reached the final between Peru's Francesco de la Cruz and Germany's Jan Spies. 18-year-old de la Cruz eventually emerged victorious after expertly using the car as an obstacle. "I'm very, very happy. I thank God that I have been able to achieve this," he said after lifting the golden balloon and earning a cool 10,000 euros. While the new sport's future is still uncertain, it's already had its own Nazi controversy, with some viewers accusing referee Rafa Guerrero of giving the fascist salute. He subsequently denied that it was intended to be a fascist salute. In the original video, Guerrero is seen using his left hand, which is traditionally the wrong hand for a fascist salute. The controversy was probably stoked by people not knowing this fact, and due to a manipulated video being shared online that showed him using his right hand. Near universal appeal, global interest, and accusations of Nazis in the administration? Watch out, FIFA! And now it's time for our final segment, the one I like to call I've Seen Things You People Wouldn't Believe. It's the part of the show where I talk about, and show you if I can, the grossest and weirdest thing I've seen all week. Today, it's a twofer, and it's all about feet. Some dude named Jake apparently took a splinter to the foot, and neither he nor his doctor realized just how big the thing was in the initial exam. Fast forward a couple of weeks later, as well as an x-ray, and we have the spring-loaded splinter.
I guess the x-ray wasn't kidding. Oh my god. Are you guys serious? This wasn't kidding. Oh, I wasn't kidding. Oh my god. Are you guys serious? This is a great video.
This video posted to Reddit shows a human with decidedly monkey-esque feet. Apparently as many as 8% of humans could have feet with varying degrees of chimp-like structure. Now, I couldn't find many details, but if this video is real, it must surely represent the extreme end of that chimp-like feet spectrum. Unfortunately, it would also mean that the guy would likely have trouble walking and running, but given the modern world where we're not really running from predators or chasing down prey, maybe this has evolutionary upsides. I'm spitballing here, but maybe typing and eating, or eating and driving, working and driving, I don't know. I'm sure the denizens of the internet that you could figure out a few things that he could do with his feet. And that's all I have for this episode of Remotely News, the news that you may or may not be able to use. Thank you for watching. Please let me know if you like this idea that I have. I'd like to make a few more. It's pretty tough. I hate this teleprompter reading thing. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you liked it. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Have a good day. Bye-bye.